All praise to the Most High, AHAYAH, and to His Son, Yeshua, the Messiah. Hallelujah. This is Brother Holly here with the first Spirit of Truth broadcast here on the AHAYAH'S channel, as well as the House of AHAYAH channel on this set-apart Sabbath day. First, I would like to say all praises to the Most High, the great I am, He who is, was, and is to come, the Almighty One. Hallelujah. I give Him glory and praise for another opportunity to come before you, His family, His children, around the reading and studying of His Word. All praises. Hallelujah. In this first broadcast, we are going to continue in the series, The Covenants of AHAYAH, and we're going to look at the covenant that He made to bring the children of Yasharal out of Egyptian bondage, and the covenant of His name. Those will be the two covenants that we'll go over on this set apart Sabbath day, if AHAYAH wills it to be so. So, a lot of times, a lot of people would put these two together. But when I read this in Exodus chapter 3, that's where we're going to as a starting point today. When I began studying this, I saw that there were two distinct covenants being made at the same time. One around what the Most High was going to do for His people, and one around His revealed name. And it says in Exodus chapter 6, I believe, that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did not know Him by the name of AHAYAH, but of Al Shaddai. That's the name they had. El Shaddai Almighty. That's the only name they knew. And El Shaddai Almighty means the one who provides, the provider of all things Almighty. But they didn't know Him by the name I am, or I will be, during that time. He only revealed that to the descendants of Jacob through Moses. Hallelujah. And from that point on, or from that point forward, that has been the name in which He has revealed to us for us to use and to call Him by. And we'll be calling Him that name for all eternity. For He said, "This is my name forever and my memorial forever." Hallelujah. So let's look in Exodus chapter 3. I'll be reading from the Yashahah Bible Scriptures. And let's start reading Exodus chapter 3, start at verse 1. It says, "Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came upon the mount of Alahaim, even in Horeb." Now we know this to be Mount Sinai. "And the angel of AHAYAH appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush, and he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed." So we're very, very familiar, especially those of us who cry out to the Most High by His true revealed name. We're very, very familiar with this story. This is pretty much our origin story, if you will, for those who know and believe the Most High's true name. Verse 3, "And Moses said, I will turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned." Verse 4, "And when AHAYAH saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, draw not nigh hither. Put off your shoes from your feet, for the place whereon you are standing is holy ground." Now, I have had the distinct pleasure in my lifetime to go to the geographical Mount Sinai. It's in Saudi Arabia. It's in western Saudi Arabia, close to the Red Sea. During my military career, some of you know that I served many years in the United States military. And during my military career, I spent almost 3 years of it in Saudi Arabia as an advisor, a trainer to the Royal Saudi military. And during my time, I would travel the country freely. And when I first went to Western Saudi Arabia, I saw a road sign. And if you've ever been within the country of Saudi Arabia, most of the signs, road signs, and signs on buildings and everywhere are in Arabic, or I just called it squiggly because I can't read Arabic. But this particular road sign outside this particular city in Western Saudi Arabia had two words in English that I could read: MT. Sinai. And I was being driven to a site by a Royal Saudi Air Force sergeant, and I talked to my driver in broken Arabic. That's the only thing I can speak. I spent so much time in the country, I picked up a lot of the language. So I said, Hali, Hali, which, hey, hey, like, hey, hey. And I pointed at the sign. I said, Mount Sinai? He said, yes, 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 yeah, Sinai, Sinai. And I said, Hala, take me, And he agreed after much pleading to take me. And when he took me to Sinai, there was a fence around it. There was all these signs in Arabic. I assume they were, keep out signs. And as far as you could get there was a fence on the road, and then once you got through that fence, there was a fence around the mountain. So he drove me up to the fence on the road, and then we left. And another American who was stationed there at that particular site, I convinced him and begged him to take me up there to get me through the fence on the road up to the mountain itself. And he was able, through his accreditations, to get me beyond the fence into the area around Mount Sinai. And while I was there, children, the Most High gave me for lack of a better term, an example of His presence and power. When I was standing at the fence line around Sinai, there was a wind that came over the crest of the mountain, and it blew like a mist down into the ravine that was between the mountain and between where the fence was and the mountain. There was a ravine about 15-20 feet across, and this mist went down into the ravine, and it just blew up in my face, like this wind, and it was like a really forceful wind, and I was just sitting there in complete awe of the power and presence of the Almighty. I was like, whoa! And I was like, I'm such a peasant. And I didn't know. Should I take off my shoes? Yes, I should have. Because where I was standing was holy ground. And I should have took my shoes off. And, I'm such a peasant. I didn't know what to do. And I had to apologize to the Most High. Here I am at your holy mountain, and I didn't go through the proper protocols. But the Most High has been generous unto me to show me His presence and power at this place. And though no one can go to Saudi Arabia as a tourist, except you're going there as a Muslim to do your Hajj to Mecca, which is in Western Saudi Arabia as well. But all other people cannot go there as a tourist as of yet. But I was fortunate that the Most High got me into the country as a military advisor, and I was fortunate enough to go out to that part of the country where Sinai was, and fortunate enough to actually go to the mountain and get to experience all that. So when I read this in the scriptures, my mind always goes back to that time. Hallelujah. The Most High has been so gracious to me, and I must say it. He has always shown his power and presence to me. And even in that time, when I didn't even know really who I was, he was showing himself to me, showing me that he had, from the foundation of the world, he had a covenant with me. Hallelujah. And with you too, child of Jacob. Let's continue. In verse 4, again, Exodus 3, verse 4. And when AHAYAH saw that he turned aside to see, AHAYAH called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place wherein you stand is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the AHAYAH of your father, the AHAYAH of Abraham, the AHAYAH of Isaac, and the AHAYAH of Jacob. Please hear what the Most High is saying. He is narrowing who he belongs to and who belongs to him. This is a repeated theme throughout those scriptures. He is not the AHAYAH, or the Most High power of the entire planet, or of all nations, or of all people. He just isn't. He is the Most High power of the people that he has a covenant with. He has a covenant with Abraham. He has a covenant with Isaac. He has a covenant with Jacob and his seed after him. These are the last people. The children of Jacob were the last people that the Most High ever made a covenant with as a group. The last people. And that covenant goes throughout our generations. That is part of the everlasting covenant. Hallelujah. So the Most High here is making mention of who he'd been in covenant with. And he made sure that Moses understood that these people that he had a covenant with were his forefathers. I'll read verse 6 again. Moses, he said, speaking of AHAYAH, I am the AHAYAH of your father, the AHAYAH of Abraham. So he's saying, Moses, Abraham is one of your fathers. And the AHAYAH of Isaac. Again, Isaac's one of your fathers. And the AHAYAH of Jacob. Jacob is one of your fathers. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon AHAYAH. Verse 7. And AHAYAH said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. So, here's the Most High making a covenant to bring the children of Jacob out of bondage. This is a covenant of release from oppression and bondage. He told us we were going to go back into Egypt again, and this time by ships, and he was going to recover us or release us a second time. He was going to recover us a second time from all the places where we've been held bondage. So this covenant of bondage just wasn't to get out of Egypt the first time. No. It was a covenant the Most High was making that would extend to any time his children were in bondage, any time his children were oppressed, any time that they cry out by reason of their taskmasters. This is the covenant that brings the release. Hallelujah. Let's read it again. And AHAYAH said, verse 7, and AHAYAH said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land, and a large unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and of the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. So the Most High is going to bring his people into a good land, a large land. Now, when you look at this is a side note, so please, bear with me. When you look at the description of the biblical boundaries of the promised land, it ain't that little sliver of land on the coast of the Mediterranean that the Jewish state is occupying. It's part of that land, but it ain't all of that land. It extends into Saudi Arabia, where I've been. So I have stepped foot on the promised land. Hallelujah. I just thought of that. And it extends into the land which is currently known as Egypt. Egypt is within the promised land. I've been to Egypt as well in my lifetime. So hallelujah. I've just stepped foot all over the promised land. Glory. And been to Sinai. Hallelujah. But I'm having a Hebrew day. I'm having a time of my life right now. Recalling this time when I was just walking in the land given unto our forefathers and didn't even know who I was. All praises to the Most High. Verse 9. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Yasharal is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Since we're in this new Egypt, we came into Egypt again, according to Deuteronomy 28, by ship. And here we've been sold to our taskmasters as bondsmen and bondswomen. I've said it before and I'll say it again, church. We ain't gonna always be here in Egypt. The Most High is going to deliver us from the second Egypt. He's going to recover us a second time out of Egypt. And Egypt is synonymous with the house of bondage. It's not only the geographical place, but it's any place where the children of Jacob are kept in hard bondage and needing to be delivered. Here's the covenants of deliverance. Hallelujah. Verse 10, come now therefore, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, and you may bring forth my people, the children of Yasharal. Let's stop right there. Here the Most High is identifying who his people are. Underline that in your book of scriptures, whichever book you got. Underline that phrase. That should cement it in your thinking that this deliverance, this covenant is for a certain group of people whom he called his people. The Egyptians weren't his people, never have been, never will be his people. The Canaanites are not his people. The Jebusites are not his people. The Hittites are not his people. The Chaldeans, the Babylonians, none of them are his people. There's only one group of people on the face of the planet that can make the claim they are the people of the Most High. And that would be the blood and bone descendants of Jacob. Hallelujah. The children of Jacob. The 12 tribes worldwide. Underline it. He called us his people. Let's read it again. Come now, therefore, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, that you might bring forth my people, the children of Yasharal, out of Egypt. So it's a distinct group of people. Were there other people in Egypt? Of course they were. How do we know that? Because when we left Egypt, when our forefathers left Egypt and foremothers left Egypt, the mixed multitude went with us into the wilderness. And we know from previous teachings on these channels that the mixed multitude was with us until the time of Ezra. But it was during the time of Ezra when we returned to the Torah law, we cut them off finally and completely. See, the mixed multitude ain't supposed to be with us. This wasn't a covenant for them. They were just piggybacking. And we can read in the book of Isaiah, when we return into our land, they're going to be piggybackers there too. And we're going to take the piggybackers and turn them into bondsmen and bondswomen, servants. That's going to be their lot. Our lot is the land. Our lot is having the Most High AHAYAH'S as our power. Their lot is to serve us according to the scriptures, not according to Brother Holly's feeble mind, not according to my imagination, according to the scriptures. Hallelujah. See, a lot of people ain't got no lot of stake in this matter. That's why these messages make no sense to them. This is foolish unto them. They can't know it. Paul said you can't even know it, for it is spiritually discerned. This has to come through revelation by the Ruach HaKodesh. Hallelujah. I'll keep reading. Exodus 3:11. And Moses said unto him, Elohim, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Yasharel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with you, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. What is the token of this covenant? A return to Sinai to serve the Most High. That's the token of the covenant. The covenant, I'm going to rescue you out of Egypt. I'm going to deal with Pharaoh and the rest of the Egyptians. I'm going to rescue my people out of Egypt. And then this is the token that once you've been rescued, you're going to come to Sinai and you're going to worship. You're going to come to serve me at this mountain. He was on Sinai when the burning bush happened. Moses was. He was going to leave Sinai, go to Egypt, get the people, come back. And there they would serve the Most High. And that's the token. When they were all there, rescued. Hallelujah. Not a feeble man or woman among them. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He rescued them with an outstretched hand. Hallelujah. And in the next couple of verses, we're going to get into yet another covenant. The covenant of the Most High's name. And this name for the Most High is the name that's part of the everlasting covenant. Because how do we know that? Because it said, this is my name forever and my memorial. That's the second teaching. So let's recap this first teaching. The Most High made a covenant at Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, in Arabia, as Paul said where it is. I have seen it. I have been there. That on Mount Sinai, that the children of Jacob would be delivered from Egyptian bondage. This was the covenant. I will be their most high power, and I will deliver them from the hand of Pharaoh and from the Egyptians who have oppressed them. I've heard their cry. I have come down to deliver them. I'm sending you, Moses, that you will go and bring my word and bring my name to my people. And those people would be delivered, and you're going to return to this mountain and serve me. And that's the token of the covenant. Now, what's missing from this covenant? In eternal or everlasting provisions. We know that this covenant is not everlasting. We can read that in the establishment of the new covenant in Jeremiah 31. So let's make sure that this is not part of the everlasting covenant by what? Studying the scriptures, precept upon precept. So let's turn quickly to Jeremiah chapter 31. And let's see that this covenant had a duration, I should say. Jeremiah 31:31 says, behold, the days come, says AHAYAH, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharel and with the house of Judah, or with the house of Joseph and the house of Judah. That's all 12 tribes. Hallelujah. All the children of Jacob. Verse 32, not according to the covenant I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. See, that was a covenant. Like I said earlier, I was reading to you a covenant he was making. And here it's referred to as a covenant, the covenant of bringing them out. But this new covenant is not going to be in accordance with that covenant. This new covenant is going to supersede that covenant. It's going to have different parameters, and it's going to have permanent, long-lasting parameters. Let's continue reading verse 32. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith I. Why does he say the covenant they broke? Well, what happened when they got to Sinai? When Moses went up on the mount to receive the commandments and the law, what happened? The children of Jacob started lusting for going back to Egypt, and they made the golden calf of the tetragrammaton, called the tetragrammaton. See, they started that tetragrammaton worship way back then at the mountain where they're supposed to be worshiping AHAYAH, whose name they knew because Moses told them that was his name. They weren't calling him Ashadallah anymore. They were calling him AHAYAH, the great I am, the one who is, was, and is to come, the Almighty. Hallelujah. The covenant was to bring them out, to bring them to Sinai for to worship. And the Most High kept his covenant through signs and wonders and through the destruction of Pharaoh's armies in the waters of the Red Sea. All praise to the Most High AHAYAH and to his son Yeshua, the Messiah. Hallelujah.